Well, here we are in Houston, Texas, and I'm here with my good friend and fellow combat veteran from the 2nd Platoon, Vietnam 68-69. Conrad, thank you so much
Thank you.
for driving to be with us today. And we're going to talk a little bit about your life. And we're going to talk a little bit about, you and I served together for 7 months. And we're going to talk about some of the things that we did and ran into and so forth. But just to begin, where were you born and raised?
Baytown, Texas. Just
So
30 miles east of here.
You are at home.
I'm at home.
Right now. Have you ever moved from there and lived anyplace else?
Yeah. I lived in Houston. I lived in Washington, D.C. And pretty much those are the two places that I've lived at.
Okay. What was growing up like? What was your family like? Your mom and dad? And
It was just, we grew up in what we call a barrio nowadays. It was just, to us, it was just a little neighborhood.
Okay.
And we had a bunch of our relatives lives next door, behind us, across the street, the other streets, and
Wow.
we ended up playing football, baseball, basketball all day long.
In the street.
We had an elementary school between
Oh, yeah.
two major streets, so we had a park. We had actually a little field to play on.
And did you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have 5 brothers, 2
And
sisters.
what are their names?
Oh God, you're gonna ask me that. Tino, Garciano, call him Gigi, Ray, Lewis, my sister Pat, my sister Alice.
Good. So you had a great family. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
you had a real unit there growing up.
Absolutely.
Mom a good cook
Oh yeah.
and homemade and all that
Oh yeah.
good stuff.
All the time.
How about on special occasions? Did all the relatives get together and throw the big?
Oh yeah. There was, right now, even now, I have hundreds of cousins and relatives,
That's awesome. So you went to school in Baytown, of course. You
Yeah.
went to high school.
Right.
And when you were a senior in high school, do you remember even thinking or hearing about Vietnam? Was it even on your radar?
No, the only thing that I really remember during that time was the John F. Kennedy assassination,
Yep.
basically. And I was in high school.
Yeah.
May have been my senior year, I'm not sure. But
That sticks. Everybody knows where they were at
Yeah.
when Kennedy got assassinated. So Vietnam wasn't on your mind. You graduated from high school. Did you go into college? Did you do?
Yeah, I did. I went. Well, actually, I got drafted between high school and college.
Oh, you
since
did?
I was 19. Yeah, and I went to my draft board and told them, "Hey, I'm going to college. I've just registered," and so they gave me a deferment.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you lucked out.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you didn't.
Well, then they waited. Yeah, they waited another year and they drafted me again.
Sure.
And when I went to the registrar's office and let him know that, hey, I just got drafted again, he says, I need a deferment. She looked at my grades and says, we can't help you.
Oh no.
So that was when I just said, well, I went.
This is it.
Yeah.
So you got the letter and the greetings letter and so forth. What was your state of mind when you realized this is really it? I mean, I know where I'm going now. What were you thinking?
Well, as soon as the registrar told me that she couldn't help me, I knew I'm gone,
Yeah.
So, I don't remember much about that.
Do you remember where you got inducted?
Yeah, in Baytown, and we went into Houston, and fortunately, there was a couple of guys from Baytown who were with us.
Okay.
That I went to school with.
Where did you go to basic?
Fort Polk.
Okay, so you're in Louisiana, different countryside, of course.
Correct.
And was Polk where Tigerland was at?
Tigerland.
Now, was it there when you were there?
Yeah.
So they'd already had that going.
Oh yeah, it had to go.
Okay. Tell me about your impressions of the first day that you went into basic. I mean, like you still got your civvies on. Were you on a bus? Did you go in?
Yeah, we went by bus.
And you unloaded. Tell me about what you remember about that
Well,
experience.
it's just what you see in the movies, and you get off the bus and they're ragging you and crawling under the bus and picking up your bag over your head and and stuff like that. One incident I do remember after being there a couple of days is me and the other guy from Baytown were walking. I don't know where we were going, but I was chewing gum, and a sergeant stopped my buddy and I and said, "What do you got in your mouth?" And I quickly took it out, and threw it on the ground.
Oh.
And he says, "You throwing gum on my grass?" Of course, there was no grass. Remember, you just
Oh,
had
yeah. Oh,
white
yeah.
blocks or bricks
Oh, yeah,
around,
yeah, yeah.
and it was red dirt.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I had to pick up the gum and straighten out his grass. And so we ended up on KP that day.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
When you came to the bus brought you to your area, right? And then
Yeah, your company, your assignment. Yeah.
did did they threaten you guys and say, no, listen, we're gonna give you one chance to let us have all your knives, your guns, your weapons, and did they give you that talk? Some
No.
of the guys.
No, I don't recall that. Of course, I may have, but I don't recall it. They, the first thing you do is get a haircut.
Did
One
you
of the
have-
first
Was
things.
your hair longer when you went in?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was long. I had nice, long, wavy black hair.
Oh, yeah.
So then they just it was gone.
Yeah. I actually, in my experience, there were real long hairs like hippies that cried.
Yeah.
I mean, when they were coming out, tears were running
Yeah.
down their face.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody remembers that. Who was your drill sergeant?
There in basic.
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't know. I have no idea.
Don't remember.
No.
What did they try to teach you in basic?
In basic, just how to fire a weapon. Taking it apart, putting it together, crawling on your stomach.
Low crawl.
Calisthenics. I like that competitive stuff that had like the PT.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
So
Because
you were in pretty good shape.
Oh
when,
yeah,
when,
yeah.
when you went in.
I was very, very athletic growing up, but in fact, I was our PT champion.
Oh,
in basic
sweet.
training.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That was a mistake, though. I think that sent me. That's why I ended up in the infantry and probably in going to NCO school and all that. I should have laid back like everybody else instead of try to win every race.
Do you remember when we did all the testing? There was like a day or whatever when you went in and you took tests,
Yeah.
and that was supposed to give the Army an indication about where your strengths and.
Well, that was in the induction center, no?
Oh, okay.
That's where I took my test.
So
And actually tried to deliberately flunk that test. And then the sergeant said anybody who flunks this test is going in the Marines. So I had to go back and erase all my answers.
Oh no!
So
what did you think by flunking the test? What did you think that was going to get you?
I really didn't know. I thought maybe it, I had no idea. I said, I'm not going to tell them what I know, basically. And
Yeah, I remember that. And
I remember I had a broken ankle. I had broke my ankle really bad in high school, and I had pins in it. And they asked if anybody has any physical issues, and I said, yeah, I have pins in my left ankle. I broke it in football. And he said, squat for me. And I squatted and said, you good. So
no X-rays, no physical.
No, it's just squats.
Yeah. So basic training. Remember the gas chamber?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Everybody remembers the gas chamber, and so basic was. Would you say was basic pretty easy for you?
It was easy in terms of the physical
the
part.
physical aspect.
Yeah, but the drill sergeants are really they were rough, man.
And so, would you say the discipline part, you were kind of used to doing things your way before you went in, and now all of a sudden
No,
people are-
I had pretty strict parents. So,
okay,
yeah,
so that
I knew how to
wasn't,
say yes sir, no sir.
so that wasn't a shock.
No, that wasn't. No,
Okay.
it just no matter what you said, if they were on your case, they were on your case. You
Yeah.
know.
Did when you were in basic, were there any rumors going around like, hey, everybody's going to Vietnam, or hey, I hear they're sending people to Germany now? Or I mean, do you remember any kind
Well,
of?
I think when you get drafted, you already have an idea you're going to Vietnam. Basically.
Especially then.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
that-
Yeah, that was
You got drafted in what month?
January of '68.
Okay, so that was when, I mean, it was in the middle of this hot stuff. I mean,
Right.
a lot of stuff going on in Vietnam,
Yeah.
so there was not much chance of going to Germany.
No.
Unless it was to go to Germany and get off one plane and on another one
Yeah.
to go to.
I had a brother who went to Germany because my other brother, he was in the Air Force, and he got sent to Vietnam. So my brother, at times they wouldn't allow unless they agreed to be there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To send two brothers.
I think you had to sign somebody had to sign off.
Right.
So Joe Wascom was one of those guys,
Yeah.
Big Joe.
Yeah.
So you get through basic, and then where did you go to AIT? Oh, by the way, that day that everybody sits around and they call your name out and tell you your MOS,
Right.
was there any hope in your mind that maybe you'd go to radio school? I mean, even up to that point, were you thinking, or did you just know? Did you just say,
Well, you kind of figured that they already told you that 80 or 90% of you were going in. So there was a few guys, like my buddy, he got sent to cook school.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And you go, why him?
Yeah. And so.
The guy probably never boiled water.
Well, no, because that day we got, I don't know whether, I always say the joke to him. He and I both went on KP and they had us peeling potatoes.
Yeah.
And he said, you see what happened? You did a better job than me peeling potatoes, so you got cook school.
That's unbelievable. That's great. So AIT was Polk,
Yeah,
and did you get a chance to go through that Tigerland?
yeah,
And by the way, we got treated different in AIT.
right.
It wasn't, they weren't on us.
That much.
All
right.
the time.
There was more
But
teaching.
The bathe had to be immaculate, the latrine. There were some things that didn't change, and but they just weren't. They weren't rolling trash cans down the middle of the bay anymore and stuff
Exactly.
like that. And I remember you got weekends off,
Yeah,
and you could go into, like I went into Monterey, and I'm
Right.
sure where you were at there was a town or something where guys could go in and so forth. So towards the end of your AIT, by the way, you were on M16s, right? You got
yeah.
in basic. Were you still on the M14?
No, yeah, we were on the M14. We were on the M14 during AIT.
And then
Also.
somewhere in there,
NCO school, I got
Yeah.
the M16.
and I've thought about that, and I thought, isn't that odd that they are sending guys over there that didn't even really get a chance to. I mean, they were on M14s, and so the Army was behind, I
Right.
guess, for a lack of a better term. So towards the end of AIT, did they approach you and say, "Hey, we think you'd be a good fit for NCO school," and or how did you wind up going to the Shake and Bake program?
Well, after AIT, they sent me to a 2-week, what they call LPC, Leadership Preparation Course,
Okay.
and they're in Fort Polk. You did that, and then from there you went to Fort Benning for NCO school.
Okay, and so you were good with that? In other words, when they said that, you said, "Hey, that's fine."
Yeah.
You didn't-
Yeah, the more the time I spent in the States, the better.
Good thinking.
That's what I thought.
So tell me a little bit about NCO school.
Actually, if it hadn't been to NCO school, I probably would have never got out of Vietnam. It really taught me a lot. It taught you a lot. It's very similar to Officers Candidate School. A lot of map reading, a lot of weapons training, rappelling, night ambush, reading compasses, finding location.
Did
reading
they
maps.
teach you how to call in artillery?
Yeah. You just basically coordinates, know where you're at.
At all times.
Yeah.
So were they training with topographical maps? Do you remember? Like Vietnam. Remember Vietnam? There wasn't much elevation, so the maps all
yeah.
look kind of.
Yeah. I couldn't recall, John.
But they were probably in their training.
All I remember is, know where you're at, give the coordinates, and that's where you drop it,
Yep. Yep.
and then you adjust.
So after NCO school, did you have a little time off? Did you get to go home for a couple of weeks, or?
I may have. I don't remember. I got sent to California after NCO school. You become I'm going to call it a quasi drill instructor.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So you're going to have a platoon.
You're going to have a platoon
Yep.
to lead or a squad, and so they send. That's another AIT is 12 weeks or whatever. So they send me to Fort Ord, California.
Where I did my basic in
And
IT.
I love Monterey.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Monterey's a great place.
Beautiful, yeah.
So,
So I went there.
after that, did you get any time off?
Yeah, I did. Some of it was not because of my shoes, and they attempted to court-martial me when I was in Fort Ord. Me and another sergeant. We were taking some sick trainees that went to sick call, and
Yeah.
we were taking them out to the rifle range. It was AIT, and our deuce and a half ran out of gas, and so we did what set out our little cones.
Sure.
And told the guys, okay, keep guard. And my friend and I, he was driving. We got in the truck, and in the morning, hell, you sleep whenever you can, right?
Yep.
So we kicked our feet up on the dashboard and took a nap. Unfortunately, some fool bird drove by,
Oh.
and he opened the door. And Watai was the name of the Sergeant Watai. He fell out. I thought the door had popped open.
Oh my God.
I started laughing. So then this guy with a baseball cap sticks his head through the window, and it's a full bird. So
What are you doing?
yeah,
He said, right?
okay. Of course, start saluting and all that stuff, and long story short,
your goose was
yeah,
on the line there.
yeah, we were on our way to Vietnam, and he tried to really come after us,
I'll be darned.
and the
Didn't
cap.
you just tell him didn't you, sir, the truck's out of gas? I mean,
Yeah, he knew that.
Oh.
We told him, we're waiting on gas. He said, but, we shouldn't have been asleep. That's the thing, So, he attempted to throw us in jail
Oh,
and
my
strip
gosh.
us of our rank.
Who
And,
saved you? Who saved you?
A captain in the AG's office.
Yeah.
He said this guy was on an ego trip. He was about to get a star. That was his problem.
Oh yeah.
And so, so actually it could have been a blessing too, because I spent an additional 2 weeks there waiting to get, and then from there I got sent home for 23 days before I went to Vietnam.
Okay.
So actually it saved me a month in Vietnam. I only served 11 months in Vietnam.
I'll be darned. So the family, of course, they're all there to be with you and send you off, right?
Right.
And was mom and dad concerned?
Oh, absolutely. It didn't really hit me till we left out of hobby here, and of course you're saying goodbye and all that, and then you get on the plane and you think about what may be the last time you see your
Yeah.
parents. So that was kind of thought went through me, and then I quickly get by that. And
Did you write home a lot when you were in Vietnam?
I can't remember. I did write some.
Mom send you some care packages?
Oh yeah, she'd always send me a lot. Fritos and Ben Dip were my favorite.
What were they?
Fritos and Ben Dip.
Oh
Bean
yeah,
dip,
of course.
yeah.
Oh sure.
Okay. In the can?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
gosh.
you'd have to do that at
Yeah, that,
Senator.
that didn't, get cookies, but men really would get shit like spaghetti and crap like that,
Yeah.
Oh, and now
Yes,
Nally's,
I don't know how. We actually had spaghetti for Christmas dinner. over there.
Nally's chili was a popular one, because it was canned.
Yeah.
And they'd send that over, and it was much, much better than what came out of the sea ration cans. So that was a treat.
Well, didn't Rick Galley, didn't his family send him a pizza?
Oh, they were always they sent a pizza. That was unbelievable.
And it was covered in mold. And they just scraped the
It
mold
was
off.
scraped the mold off. Absolutely.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, we actually got, I don't know how men really got spaghetti, but we actually spaghetti, and there's a picture of me cooking it. I dug a hole in the ground, and I put those tablets, remember the little
yeah,
fire,
of course.
flame tablets, lit it up, and I'm sitting there cooking spaghetti, for Christmas dinner.
That was.
He even got a Christmas tablecloth.
I've got a picture of it.
Yeah.
You had a little Christmas tree, I think.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Did
I got
they
everything.
send the sauce like in a jar, or how did they get it to you?
It was in a can, about 10-inch can.
Oh,
yeah,
so
big-
like
a-
a Chef
a big
Boyardee
can.
thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
A commercial.
It was
like a
about that
commercial.
thick,
Jeez.
where you get cookies, and yeah, I don't know whether they put what they call it, ice, dry ice,
ice?
or whatever.
Was it good? Do you remember if it was tasty? I mean, I mean,
Hey, I'm here, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what? Anything besides C's would be tasty.
you know, it was Manarelli, myself, Kutch,
Yeah.
Peroni, Runquist. We had spaghetti for Christmas dinner.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, man.
So now you're on the plane. You went through Oakland, of course,
Yeah.
and you're on the plane and you're headed to Vietnam, and you probably stopped. Did you go the northern route, Alaska, that way, or did you go the other way?
I went to Oakland,
Yeah.
to Hawaii.
Oh, yeah, and then
Guam.
island hopped. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the way I went as well. And do you remember Fiji going when you were flying? Do you remember when you were going into Japan? I looked out the window and here's that Mount Fiji.
I didn't go to Japan, and on the way back, I did come to Japan. Coming back, I went through Japan, but on the way up there, it was Hawaii. I don't know if we landed.
Guam was one of them, and then there was
Guam.
another one.
I'm trying to think whether it was Philippines or not.
Yeah, there was another one because we did.
I think there was another one.
And-
Guam was really weird because you look at it and it's just a damn airstrip. The island. It's really like the whole island's an airstrip.
Yeah,
So.
and when I think we got off the plane there, because I think these commercial airlines were doing mail.
Yeah.
I think they were hauling stuff for the Army
Yeah.
to dump off at these places. And I remember, the terminal was just a little shack.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it was just unbelievable. And the guy
Very
says,
small.
well, you can get cigarettes over there or gum, but not much.
Yeah, I don't remember getting off in Hawaii. I remember Hawaii, we were there a couple hours and then they were let us off the plane. So we looked at Hawaii through the window. And
Oh,
the
God.
same with Guam,
So you land in Benoit
Yeah,
and they open the door.
yeah. I remember
What was your first impression?
I saw the big red one. I saw about a squad of guys walking on the tarmac. The big red one looked like, like we did after a few months in Vietnam. And I said, shit, looks like a war.
Oh, yeah. And do you remember when you got off the plane, of course, you instantly started sweating because of the humidity.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What else did you notice right after that?
It was, of course, I'd say the environment was obviously different, but there was, how do you say, it didn't smell, but it was different. Put it that way.
It smelled. Little did we know that they were burning.
I guess I'm saying the smell was totally different than from where it was something,
And now you don't
Can't describe it.
You don't have a clue where you're going at this
No.
point. So they eventually get you to Long Binh, and then you're going to get your orders to where
Right.
you're going. Did anybody ever tell you when you got your orders that you're going to the Wolfhounds?
No.
So nobody mentioned
No,
that.
I didn't know.
When I got my orders, the guy that handed me the orders looked and he goes, Wolfhounds. He goes, I feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
And immediately I thought, what? Why would he say? He didn't say that to anybody else, Well, I've learned later why.
I didn't want to go to the big red one because I saw those guys first right
Yes.
off the bat, and I
Yes.
said so. And I looked at them and I said, "Shit, they look like they've been on a long range reconnaissance patrol or something,
Yep.
And so that's the first impression I got.
So here's Charlie Company. You get on a deuce and a half, and they
take it to Coochie.
did you and the guys on that deuce and a half have a funny feeling when you realized none of you had
Absolutely.
any guns or ammo or anything?
Yeah. I know.
I had that feeling in Long Binh.
I was waiting to get ambushed every second.
And we hadn't even been there for
Right.
a couple of days. And I remember that so well. So you get to Charlie Company area. Did the clerk come out and
I don't recall.
Was it-
I remember just so much as going through
finishing school?
a VC trainer or whatever you call it.
Yep.
And
And then
then you got to take a few pictures, and you holding it in 60. and
everybody-
you got your first boonie hat.
everybody's got that picture.
Yeah.
And so now of course, now you're in 25th Charlie Company, and when you went in, it said Wolfhounds, home of the Wolfhounds, and
Right.
so forth. But it didn't mean anything at that point.
Right, no.
So where was the company when you went there? Were they?
They were in Diamond. They
Oh.
were heading to Diamond. They had just built Diamond, I believe. I got sent to, I don't know whether it was Reed or Crockett or something. I can't remember.
It would have been Reed. I think
Yeah,
Crockett.
it was a one night deal there. A stop there for some reason. I stayed there, and then they sent me to Diamond the next day. Flew
And
over.
when was that?
February 20th, something like that.
Okay. And so, of course, Diamond was something different. It was out in flat ground. You could see the
Yeah.
Cambodian border.
Yeah.
It looked like they'd gotten a cat in there and pushed dirt up to make.
Right.
I mean, do you remember that? And for you, you're a new guy.
Yeah.
This is your first go.
Right.
I mean, did you think, wow, this is like, I didn't expect this?
Yeah, I mean, it was flat, you know, and it just a mound all the way around.
Wire.
You know, you kind of just roll with the flow there, man. You know, didn't know what to expect, so you just took everything as it came. You know.
Who was the first person that you met when you got there? Because did you know you were in the second platoon?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so you already were assigned.
Sergeant Marquez, and he had given me, I don't know what squad he put me on, but you know, I didn't have they didn't assign me a squad at the time, but I went to a certain squad, and the next day, I don't know, I think we went on an Eagle flight somewhere. No incidents, you know, just came back, and then the next
What
day.
was your impression of flying?
Kind of liked it. I had this habit if I wanted to, I don't know if it was early on, but I like to sit in the front hanging out because I thought it was, if this guy gets shot, I'm jumping out.
I did too.
You know.
You know what?
You know, and literally, I know later on, I said, man, that would have been stupid because then the blades would have got you or something, you know, when they cracked.
And you know, and I never thought of this either when we were going into the LZ.
Yeah.
If the bullets came through the door, you were there.
I know,
there was
but you thought you wanted to get out of that thing the first. You wanted to be the first one to get out of
That
that.
was my thought.
That was my thought too. I wanted to get out.
So nothing happened then. What happened in the next couple of days?
We went on an ambush patrol. You were there, I believe. I'm sure you were.
And I want you to back up just a little bit because there was some new guys, I think, that were coming in.
Yeah.
And
But I know a lot of you guys came afterwards.
oh yeah, of course, yeah.
I don't know who got. How many of you guys came in with me? I don't remember. Whether any. There was one guy I remember, Mora. He was killed that night.
Yeah.
In a bunker. He's from Corpus. I've tried to look up his family, just to let him know that I was with him. You know.
And there was
before.
another guy that had only been there a couple of days, and he was supposed to go out on the ambush patrol, and he actually started crying, and he said, "I know if I go out tonight, I'm going to get killed."
Right.
Bad feeling. Well, he'd only been there 3 days,
Yeah.
so Bobby Connell said, "Hey, I'll trade with you."
Yeah.
So Bobby Connell goes out, he stays in, and of course we know the rest of the story.
Right.
And as it happened, Bobby Connell played a very important role because he was an M79, and he stood up and took the I think it was a 51 that was shooting, and he lucked. You know, it's always, at night in the dark, it's always a lucky shot, but
Right.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He lucked out, and we lucked out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was weird. 2 guys that had only been there almost less than a week got killed.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was on my 3rd day.
I mean, so describe to me the afternoon of this would be the 22nd, I guess, right? And do you remember, did they get us together and go over a plan or say, okay, half you guys are going to stay in, half of us are, I mean, do you remember any of that?
Not really. I mean, just the process. You know, there was there was a rotation with everything with squads and with platoons. I guess it was our turn, and
Yeah.
they would just tell them that you're going out tonight, saddle up, and you
Did-
just followed.
Did anybody say anything about, you know, there's rumors that we might get hit, or, you know?
You know, they knew that. We learned that after 20 years after the fact, reading the
Yep.
reports and the
Yep.
sig reps and
Yep.
all that.
Yep.
That all this detail was out there. Of course, we were never advised of that. I can't recall
Okay.
that we were told. Man, we just said saddle up and we go.
Well, I remember during that time period, there were a lot of rumors, because like somebody would squeak out of the
Out of the CP.
and they'd say, well, you know, they heard on the radio,
Yeah.
you know, and so forth, and so they did. We didn't know we were put there on purpose
Yeah.
for bait, but
What's
okay,
what's the CB? Is that the command?
CP command post.
Oh, command post. Okay.
That's where your CO and his radio operator and
Gotcha.
probably a.
Yeah. I was too new to keep up with it. You guys probably heard the rumors and stuff, but I was totally a new guy, man. I was still in AIT there at that time.
Oh my gosh! So you left the wire. Was it before dark or after?
Yeah, it was right before dark. I believe.
Just shadowy kind of. Okay. And how far did you walk?
I don't recall what we went a couple of clicks, a click and a half maybe. It wasn't that far, maybe 1,200.
Okay.
That number comes to me.
And so this was going to be an ambush. So how did you guys set up the ambush?
Well, as you recall, it was a hedgerow, it was a wooded area a little bit, and it was open kind of in the middle, and it was L-shaped. I remember being on the very last post on the right side. I guess I would have been, I don't know which way facing, but was Lanny Ross there during that
No.
time? Okay. Well, there was a sergeant, and anyway, I had this watch, you know, those fluorescent watches,
Oh.
big ones, you know, and so they said, hey, Garcia, you mind we use your watch for guard? I said, no, not at all. So I hung it up, we put it on the berm. And, you know, the thing is, I had no trouble sleeping. I went to sleep. You know, it was going to be 3 of us there, so it was going to be like 2 hours on, 2 hours off.
Sure.
But anyway, I think they gave me the last watch because, you know, new guy being, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I get the 2 o'clock watch.
Yeah, of
Well,
course.
fortunately, I got to sleep 4 hours. I went to sleep, and then somebody, Garcia, wake up. We got movement in front. And we had a scope on this side. For some reason, we had a scope. I don't know, because it may have been that either. Marquez was in rear security, I believe. He had a scope back there, too. And I heard him say three. I thought, you know, waking up, it's just, you know, we got three gooks in front of us or whatever. But he meant to say 300.
No.
And and then you could see him on line. I mean, it was just one long line. And our lieutenant called.
Couldn't see the end of the line.
Yeah, I couldn't see it. And then he called artillery on them. Well, guess where they ran? Right at us because that's a hedgerow over there. There's a place to hide.
Some cover.
So they ran at us, and I remember just firing. You know, that's why I learned to use automatic. I never used anything different after that. I used to fire my automatic all the time. I carried like 28 magazines with me. I knew to carry a lot of ammo, so I had 28 magazines with me.
Which would turn out to be, you wish you'd have had 40.
Oh, yeah. But typically folks would carry 16 magazines,
Yep.
18, 16, and 20, maybe 20. But
Would you share your ammo if someone yelled, "Hey Garcia, give me a clip"? Would you?
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Some guys.
2 guns are firing better than 1. I mean,
You remember Larry Lemire?
Yeah.
He said, you know, if you didn't bring your own ammo, that's your problem.
He was our 60 guy, you know, he was carrying.
He wouldn't share his
Yeah,
ammo.
there's a story. We'll make it to it later. We have time, but about him. But yeah, you know that. And then what I remember that night was the 60 we had. I don't know who was on it, but he started a fire, or then our hedgerow catch on fire. And then next thing we knew is we were told to move, and I really didn't know we were heading back to base camp. We were just told to move, but the radio didn't tell them try to make it back. So as we were walking out of the little opening, You know, we were all lined up and getting ready to get out of there. I think there was a NVA not too far from the berm, and he was keeping us from coming out. And our M79 guy knocked him off. I think he knocked his head off. But yeah, you know, first you saw all the bodies laying around, and that M60 did a job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you know, we started walking back. For the first maybe 100 yards, it was kind of quiet. But man, you just felt like, you know, you had hedgerows on your left, hedgerows on your right. You know, it didn't look good.
Did you know? You probably didn't. Did you have any idea what that line of people, what their job was that night?
Who's
The
NVA?
Yeah. You know, rockets, mortars.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I don't know how anybody could know that, but it
Yeah.
turned out that that's what happened.
yeah. Obviously, they were on their way to Diamond. But we walked for a little while, and then next thing I knew, RPG came at us, and it actually hit right in front of me, and it blew me back, and it killed Anderson on the right side. He was flanked, and I remember first screams from him. You know, he was screaming for a while, but it blew me back, blew my weapon away, and I think I was fortunate that it hit in front of me instead of the side. But everything went down.
Yes.
And I remember losing my weapon and taking his weapon. Well, I crawled up to him and he was gone.
Yeah.
And I took his weapon and crawled my way up to the lieutenant in Marquez. And I think he said, we need to get over there to this thing with like a...
Mm-hmm.
I just jumped up and started running toward that area. I don't know why. I just got
Other
up.
guys running?
No, I was the only one. I got up and ran. And I made it, and I was the only one, and then,
You're there by yourself?
yeah. I don't know.
And you're
It was
thinking-
kind of stupid.
And you're thinking, why did they tell me?
Yeah, well, I thought he was giving me orders or something. Man. I just got up and ran, man. And, you know, hell, 3 days in, you know.
I'm not laughing because
So,
it's funny. It's just so.
You know, but I
It's so-
knew there was a couple of
it's
guys.
so horrible. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
So I just started firing along the hedgerow, and I lobbed a few grenades on there in the wooded area. I wanted one to blow up on top, you know, instead of
a little height of burst.
Yeah, and then threw one. I rolled one on the ground.
It's amazing how you're telling 3 days in, and you've already encountered contact. You've seen death. 3 days in.
Yeah, but,
You know, some guys went and they were there months before they ever saw legitimate.
Yeah.
You know,
No, our unit saw a lot of action during that period of time. A lot of action. I think we were in something at least every other week.
did that mess with you at all? I mean, did that traumatize you at all?
You know, it kind of messed with me in the sense that, you know, I'm going to skip over when we came back and we had to rebuild the base camp. That's why, you know, with John and I and all, Bourgeois and all the guys, we were digging out the bunkers to, you know, to rebuild them because.
Which was a horrifying thing because we thought had to be pulled out.
Yeah.
There was no way we thought we were
No.
going to be there again.
So anyway, we were getting ready for another night of assaults and
Same thing.
we
Except they
we ended
decided
up-
not
I don't
to send an
remember. You know, I remember.
There was no AP sent out.
Yeah,
the
digging
next
up
night.
body parts out of that bunker. You know, I remember a helmet that had a half a skull in it.
John Cook reached down and took a combat boot with the foot still in it, and handed it to me, and I just.
Yeah. Well, I remember
It
Marquez
was
coming in
numb.
there.
It was kind of like numb.
And we were kind of maybe working a little slow, and he came in there and kind of cussed us
He
out.
did, yeah.
And I ended up cussing back at him after 3 days there, and I cussed him back at him,
Yeah.
and we needed some freaking water, you know.
Oh yeah.
We didn't have-
And when he said we're staying here,
Yeah.
it was like you got to be kidding me. And of course the
But I grew up real quick that day. It
Yeah.
was just kind of, I mean, it was going to happen the other way. I guess rather have hated to lose all those men, but it really got me prepared for what, you know. I saw the worst right at the first. How can it get any worse?
it was the only time in the whole time I served with Marquez that I saw him lose his emotions.
Yeah,
And that's when
yeah.
they had all our guys lined up, covered with ponchos that they drug out of those bunkers.
Yeah.
And none of us could believe it. I mean, it was like we were in denial. That cannot be our guys. That must be a mistake.
Yeah.
And I remember going over and I pulled the thing back, and it was Sugar Bear Taylor
Yeah.
was the first guy. And that's when Marquez came up there. And I went to the next one, and we were numb. And Marquez came up and saw that, and he teared up.
Yeah.
Only time I ever saw him.
Can you imagine a guy being there 3 days cussing at Marquez? But I was losing it
Did
probably.
you get in
again.
trouble for that?
No.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
no. I just, you know.
You know why? Because Marquez was a pro, and he'd been there, done that, and he knew exactly what we were facing and what we were going through.
Yeah.
And he was the guy that would push you when it made sense for the outcome. In other words, he didn't just jerk around with you for
Yeah.
nothing. And you know, I remember him saying, "You guys, you know, if you don't get this done, you're not going to have a bunker to fight out of tonight." And that's when it hit me. That means we're staying here tonight. And so then we did. We rebuilt it. And I remember, because we knew what happened to our guys. They stayed in the bunker. Satchel charges went in and blew these guys up, except Dave Brogan. Dave Brogan had run, when the bag came in, he ran into the corner, and everybody piled on top of him. That's the only reason he lived.
Wow.
And when they undid that and they found him, he had Dennis Lorenzini's head in his lap, and he was talking to him. He was saying, it's Sneaker. Remember? Well, you may not.
Yeah,
remember.
I remember the name.
Sneaker, and he was going, "It's going to be okay. You know, don't worry, medevac." He was. Where was he at?
I knew very little guys when I first.
Well, yeah,
I
yeah.
knew you because John, when I got to, I want to regress a little bit, to Cuchi, at the headquarters, you had come in out of the field and you were in the shower. Saw him naked for the first time. Okay, but and he was. I knew, and we exchanged a few words. I don't know exactly what we said, but we knew I was going to where his platoon,
Mm-hmm.
and he had just come in the field and he was taking a shower. I don't know what he came in for a little bit, but I think you were there a day or two and then went right back.
Yeah.
You know, but I remember meeting John there at headquarters, and you know, I remember him, big guy, you know. So, but you know, yeah, that was one horrible day.
Yeah, I think, it was the renegade woods for these guys after us.
Yeah.
In other words, there's always, and then the next night was no fun either.
No.
You know, but
But we were ready for them. We were
Yeah.
a lot more prepared for
Yeah.
them. I think, you know, they didn't even come close to penetrating the wire.
Mhm. Well, then they had everybody on station.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm going to back up just a little bit. When you and the squad on ambush patrol were out there and you were in a gunfight, do you remember hearing sounds coming from Diamond, or explosions, or I mean, do you remember thinking, "Gosh, those guys are under fire"?
Well, you saw the sky, and you know, all the tracers, and you know.
So yeah.
You saw all that going on, and you know, and then I remember after getting there, and then all the guys coming to that same
Yes.
booth, and everybody couldn't fit. So I had one dude on top of me, being the first guy there. Then I was the one on the bottom, and there was like 2 layers of guys in this little 2-foot hole. I don't know, a kind of a dike, and. You know, and then after a while, I couldn't even fire because somebody was laying on top of me. You know, we had bodies on top of bodies. And,
Yeah.
and Lieutenant called artillery in our own position, I believe. I couldn't see if we were being assaulted or what.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and
I don't know. You may have a different picture
well,
about that.
what happened was Jamie O'Brien, the lieutenant,
Right.
couldn't get any support because it was all tied up for any support. And then when he finally did get, I think it was a
Was it a Navy boat?
Uh,
No?
Anyway, I'm confusing myself. The point of the telling was, is he kept trying to get anything, you know, and couldn't get anything. And then when he finally did, you know, by that time, his RTO Steve Thorpe, you know, Jamie and Marquez were there, and there was a guy still crawling up trying to get to us, and Jamie said, start shooting, because he was hunkered down trying to, on the radio, and Jamie said, just put your gun over and just start shooting.
Yeah, right.
And Thorpe shot that guy, shot our guy,
Yeah.
like in the kidneys or something.
Yeah, he's in the back. Actually, you know, for many years I thought I was the one that shot him
No.
until because we were just, you know,
Oh,
trying to,
it
you
was-
know, like that.
yeah.
And then I looked over the berm and there he was laying, and I could see he had his back torn out.
Yeah, and that was
And then Thorpe told me at a reunion
yeah,
that he was the one. And for years I thought I had
yeah.
shot that guy, but you know.
So after that second night, and I think we were out there like 3 days, then they said, okay, we're leaving. We're gonna tear down, remember all that stuff.
Right.
And then we thought, well, good, now we're gonna be in a better place. And there was, in the second platoon, there were so few guys that we didn't have enough to field a team.
Yeah.
You know, so they sent us to Trangbang
Yeah,
and
to guard
to wait for replacements.
yeah, we guarded the bridge there.
And they put us on a bunker duty deal.
Yeah.
And that's and boy, I'll tell you what, I remember this like it was yesterday. We were shook up. I mean, we were like, you'd look at each other, but nothing was, you know, not much was being said. And
What, Dead Man Stare or something, or what?
oh, I mean, it was bad.
And this was after Diamond 1.
Yeah.
So you haven't even been through Diamond 2 yet.
No.
Glover's not in the picture yet. Is that
Well,
right?
Glover was in the picture on Diamond 1 because
Yeah.
he's the one that was up in the tower.
Yeah, he was.
And told Jamie, I can see this line of gooks coming, and Glover told him, he says, get out of there. In other words, don't stay because they're coming
right at you.
Yeah, and then of course Glover, luckily, and he had a crew serve Starlight up there,
Yeah.
and he had good instinct because he was still up there when the rockets started coming in.
Yeah.
And so he hustled down, and you know, his story is when they came through and knocked our bunkers out and stuff, he crawled out with a light, you know.
So that was Diamond 1
that was Diamond
okay,
1.
Okay, yeah.
And
yeah. I
then
was
that's
just
when
curious.
Bob Seegers, the Cobra pilot,
Yeah.
was the first one on station, and Glover talked to him,
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. Were you there when Seegers, when we brought him to the
Yeah, I
reunion?
was there. But in fact, I rode with him I met him at the airport in Springfield, and we rode in together.
What did you think of the show Tim put on with the lights going out and the smoke and the
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, and that sound.
Was
yeah.
that pretty impressive?
You can't forget that sound. Yeah.
Glover said he'd like to kill both of us for putting on those shenanigans.
Yeah.
But it was a
But you had
great,
some flashbacks, huh?
great healing moment, you know.
yeah, oh yeah, that was great.
You know, John, what I remember about that now, you think about it in hindsight, is why didn't the NVA just wipe us out? Could have easily done that. To hell with the base camp, you know. But they just like put 2 or 3 guys out there to hold us, pin us down, and
Yeah,
and then they all went to the fire base and got their, you know, I'm sure they lost over almost 200 or more.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
NVA, but I mean, there was 20 guys that could have just wiped out pretty easily, you know. Put 100 NVA on us, and that it'd have been all over.
It would have been over.
But all they
quick.
did was left, you know, 2 or 3 guys there to keep us pinned down. And I said, man, I'm kind of, you know, thankful for that, you know, because you know we could have all been.
And you know, guys that had some religious background or were, you know, like brought up in church or whatever. A lot of us thought, well, you know, God must have really been taking care of me. But the longer you served in Vietnam and the more of these things you went through, sometimes you thought maybe it was just luck.
It was. It was
I mean,
luck. I
yeah.
mean, it was. I could have been dead in 3 days, and the RPG missed me by 2 feet. You know.
No, it just, you know, so a lot of guys,
So, you
including
know,
myself.
I got very hardcore after that. You know, I mean, just very hardcore.
What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
Well, I didn't have very many friends. Let's put it that way. I knew John well, and then we could talk, and we spent a lot of time together. But as far as he and Bourgeois would like to say, they were close. Me and Matias, like we were. I mean, that would be about it.
Yeah.
You didn't have like a, but you know you had this contact with the other guys, but it was not the contact, the relationship we have now, because you know, you learn real quick that you.
Well, and
when I Anderson got killed, you know, my first thought, he was screaming and creaming, and you know, I told him to shut up, you know. And
you're giving our position away.
yeah, just, you know, cut it out. I mean, he was screaming death, you know. It was, and he's just screaming and screaming. I had no idea what was wrong with him until I got over to him, and then he didn't last long, you know. But I mean, he was screaming. I mean, it was that was scaring me more than,
Yeah.
you know.
But part of what Conrad's talking about is when we went back to Trang Bang and the new guys, the replacements started coming in, we didn't want to have anything to do with them. And what he's saying is we lost guys that had only been there for a few days. We didn't even know their names in some
I don't remember a lot of the names.
in some instances.
I remember more.
So why would I want to get to know you or spend any time with you when in a couple of days you could be
Yeah.
gone too?
Yeah.
And every loss, every guy that ever got killed with us was a personal loss.
Mhm.
Whether you were a friend of his, whether he was your buddy, it was like now my mortality is on the line. And it just amazing. How many times did you think, why him and not me?
Oh, so many times.
You
You
just-
know, I mean, you know, we can. The day Carlin got killed, you know, I was totally exposed. I was standing up. I was the first one who spotted the LP. I saw we were walking on line, as you recall. That was in September, and I spotted 2 little blackheads coming out of that 3 foot tall grass.
Stubble, yeah.
And I told the sergeant, I don't know if Sergeant Marquez or not, but I said, I see somebody over there. And he stopped the company. And so everybody kneels down.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm standing up, and he says, you know, he told me to shoot at him, and I'm standing up, and, you know, I'm start to shoot at him. Got a few rounds. Yeah, pretty much. So, you know, they were almost, say, 50 yards away in front of us. And so I started shooting, and then the whole wood line opened up. And that's when Carlin caught it.
So you saw 2, but there was really like 50 guys?
Yeah, but
or-
these were the LPs. They always put
What's an
they were out in
LP?
front.
they were out in front of the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and these,
Early warning.
early warning.
Sometimes, you know, when I'm asking these questions, because what's good about having a guy who wasn't there in the room is when we go back and watch this, people like me who don't know what you're talking about,
Right.
I'm asking those questions so that somebody one day will go, oh, okay, and they might,
Yeah.
millennials might Google listening post in
Yeah.
the military and go, oh, that's what it was, you know, so.
Yeah.
But that you saw 2, but yet reality was you
Well,
guys,
there
you
was
guys
probably,
were about to get
was it a
ambushed.
battalion? I don't know what it was.
Yep.
Huh.
They had just attacked another one of our sister camps, and they were trying to work their way Cambodia. And I think we were what's it called? We're the Hammer. We were moving in, and Bravo Company was over here, something like
What
that.
did they call that?
Hammer and Anvil, Anvil and Hammer.
Yes. Anvil.
Yeah.
Hammer and anvil. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Somebody sits there, and then you're sweeping them toward the.
The hammer and the anvil. That's right. I'd almost forgot about that. So again, you're faced with trauma, a horrible shock, and you saw somebody get it, and yet there wasn't any time at
No.
that moment.
No, there's
There
no
wasn't
time.
any time to process any of that stuff.
You know, if they're wounded, it's different. If you know they're dead, you go, you do your business.
Yeah, yeah. So after that, then what do you remember? Where where did the platoon go?
Well, actually, let me tell you a little story about that. I mean, after jets and all that came in that day in September, we were told to move out. Somebody was coming to lift us out. And I remember me and 3 others were carrying Carlin, and we fell behind. We were the last ones in the column. I spotted another goop to my left, and he wasn't shooting at me. I made eye-to-eye contact with that guy.
How far away?
About 25 yards, maybe.
Oh.
And he was just looking at us, and it was an E6, it was a new guy, I think. Another shake and bake type dude. I told him there's a guy over there, but he don't want any shit. Let's keep moving, because we were leaving. They were gonna let you leave. That's what they wanted us to do. To leave.
Yep.
So he didn't shoot at us. I made the mistake of telling the captain. We had a new captain. I went and told him that I just saw NVA. He didn't want any shit, kind of thing. He says, "Does he want to shoot Hoy?" I said, "I don't know. He just don't want any more shit."
Who was thinking of that?
He was. So
No,
he said,
I mean,
yeah, I wasn't. I was just keeping my eye on him. He kept on until we got out of eye contact. You could tell he wanted us to just walk by. I was already, I figured I knew by that time. I've been there, 7, 8 months.
Yeah.
If you don't shoot me, I'm not going to shoot him right now. Yeah, I'm in a bad position anyway.
Sure, you were open.
Yeah.
And you were carrying somebody.
Yeah, I'm carrying somebody,
Jeepers.
and you just don't know how heavy those bodies are, man.
Well,
4 of us trying
Dead
to
weight is the worst.
Yeah,
Even trying to
so-
pick a guy out.
Oh, anyway, I should have never told the captain that I saw somebody. So he wants to go get a prisoner, and so he said, "Show me where he's at." And he picks up one of our scouts and the lieutenant, another lieutenant from 3rd platoon or whatever. So 4 of us were, walking around this guy.
You had to go with him?
Yeah.
Had to show him
Oh,
where
I had
they
to
were
go show him
at.
where he was at. That's why I thought it was stupid, of me doing that. I should have just let him go. But anyway, we take our shoe here, and he's talking, he's trying to get him to surrender. And he pops out of his hole and he shoots our scout, and the captain gets it. The lieutenant was closer to the guy than I was. I was on his, right side. The lieutenant ends up killing him. I crawl over to the captain and find out where he was hit. And so, there was one guy, the lieutenant was there, and me, and I said, well, shit, I got to go get some help, because everybody else was about 100 yards away.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to go get some help. I remember taking off his flak jacket, though. I don't know why. I guess because I thought he was going to protect me. But I took off he wore his floor flak jacket. I took it off, I put it on me, and I ran, get some help.
Remember how heavy those damn things were?
Yeah, I didn't never like wearing them. You see a lot of, the Marines used to love to wear them. But,
Yeah, that's right.
but we seldom wore them unless we were in base camp or something. But, and even then, you didn't need them because you were shirtless, But the crazy story about that night was they told us to line up for an eagle flight. They were going to pick us up, okay? So organized I am, I get my guys, Manarelli and all that. Come on, let's go. They're picking us up. So I head out, and you just, naturally go to a location where nobody's at, right? Well, during that time, they decided, instead of taking Charlie Company out, they were going to take Bravo Company out. Well, they didn't tell me. So choppers come in to pick us up, and you see all these guys, and you know how you had to be like, 30 or 40 yards apart.
Sure.
And the elephant grass waist high, you don't know who's there. So the chopper lands in front of me, I jump in it, and they take us to
Not Manarelli or any of the other guys?
me and Manarelli and all these guys.
okay.
We go to Harris, no, not Harris.
Codrick?
What was the name? It's Shamrock.
Shamrock.
Yeah. We went there, and then I knew when we were on the chopper, it's flying around, and the area didn't look familiar. You know, and we're coming out of Jackson. We were at Jackson at the
Yep,
time.
yep.
And I talked to the co-pilot. I said, "Hey, where are you going?" He says, well, "We're going to Shamrock." I said, "I'm not from Shamrock, man. I'm from Jackson." He said, well, "We're going to Shamrock." So they drop us off. I'm with Bravo Company at Shamrock.
Oh, God.
I'm the only guy from our company that got on the chopper, the only squad. And so we get there. Crazy.
What do you imagine these guys are going, where's Garcia and all those?
All right,
I mean,
exactly. Well, anyway, long story short, the battalion commander calls the captain there, and he tells us to get our asses back out where our company is at. Yeah, they're going to send a chopper in. This is already like 10, 12 o'clock, and I don't know, it's late. So they're going to fly in one chopper to send 6 guys back over there in the middle of the night. So I tell the full bird, I said, "I don't know where my men are at. They're all up." He said, "You better find them." You know, I was kind of refusing. I ain't going back out there.
Yeah.
And that's stupid. But, you know, they would do shit like that.
Yeah.
And so, okay, made a mistake, you know. So, anyway, we ended up going back out there. And in the middle of the night dropped, and then trying to hook up with they had set up an ambush,
Oh, yeah.
platoon ambush. So we had to
And really, that was a dangerous.
You're walking out there in the dark.
No, that was a dangerous damn thing.
Yeah, yeah. And it was stupid. Yeah, and I remember, you know, because we're flying and we're doing a strobe light, you know, and then all of a sudden you see all these strobe lights going off. I said, "How does he know which strobe light to land on?" You know?
Oh, God.
It's crazy, man. I said, and you look down and you see, you know, okay, we got my strobe on, and then all of a sudden you see 3 or 4 strobe lights going off.
But beyond the combat, what drove you crazy as far as, did you ever, because of the conditions you were in, the mosquitoes, the rain, did anything ever put you in a place of despair where you just thought, this is so sucky? You know, beyond the combat. I mean, that's the whole other side. But you also, I mean, you know, at days you were sitting in water for days, sleeping in water. Did you, you know, do you remember some of those things? And
Yeah, I do remember them.
So defeated
I
by it,
remember
or?
sleeping in the rice paddy, and hey, you make the best of it. Basically, as
The leeches were
yeah.
one of mine. That would get me discouraged more than anything
the leashes, and but you know, you soon learn that they're harmless, and you just take them off. And Alejandro was definitely afraid of leeches. I remember one time we were walking, and he had a bunch of them, and he was going crazy. I said, "Hey, calm down, they're not going to hurt you." But Alejandro, he was definitely afraid of leeches.
Yeah. You always carried insect repellent, and just they'd
Yeah.
fall off if you sprayed them.
Or a cigarette butt.
Oh yeah, that would work.
Yeah.
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 So you had an occasion one time. You were sleeping
Yeah.
on the ground, and you had a visitor that
Yeah.
showed up one night. Tell that story.
I was kind of a short timer then. That was when was that? November the 28th. I had 30 days left. A little over 30 days, 32 days maybe. Got off guard duty.
Where were you at?
We were in Harris.
Okay.
We were in Harris. You know, actually, we didn't have a lot of contact out of Harris. We had some, but not meaning major stuff. A lot of VC in the area. A lot of booby traps, though.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of booby traps. We had a scout dog with us. We had a sniper with us there. We had a couple of deuces.
Dusters.
Dusters, yeah, they call them dusters, yeah. But yeah, I went to bed, and I was asleep, and I felt something crawling up my back, and I don't know, I reached over and grabbed it through my blanket, and a snake bit me right here, my index finger here. Didn't know at the time what it was, but I knew it was a snake when I grabbed it, because you grab a snake, you knew it was a snake. It was a rat or something, yeah. But this was because it also left 2 indents. I jumped out of there.
What kind of snake was it?
Well, find later on it was a cobra. And that base camp actually had a couple of cobras living in it because somebody captured one, went
Oh.
into a bunker, and after they sent me back out to the field with 3 weeks left,
Did you get sick over that?
I got a little sick.
Was
You
it
know, I
pain-
tried
was
to
it-
stay
was it pa-
back.
Was it painful?
Yeah, it was very painful. I mean, I remember waking up after 3 days well, I thought I was asleep, but I woke up 3 days later, crying in pain that somebody was driving a stake through my hand. And they giving me morphine. That's how I realized what morphine was like when they shot me up. And I was like, wow.
Sure.
And the next day they let me go. I was done. You know, there's nothing else I could do. I mean, I lived.
That story became famous,
Yeah.
didn't it? I mean that even at the time. I mean, the guys were going, "Can you believe this?
Yeah.
Garcia got bit by."
Yeah, 30 days left in country and I get bit by a snake. Yeah, the only thing I remember I was holding my finger really tight and I ran straight to the CP. I just went to the CP and I said, I got bit by a snake. And I even told the guy to cut my finger off.
Because of the venom.
Yeah,
You were thinking of that.
yeah, because they put tourniquet here, tourniquet there, tourniquet there. And I tell them, you know, cut my finger up, you know, just give a shit, you know, I thought I was dead. And they called me medevac. They gave me some pills. Then I took some pills. I remember, I think Dunnett was one of the guys that carried me to the medevac. And that's always scary when they bring a medevac
Oh,
in the middle of the night. You know?
that's some of the
Because-
most horrible minutes of your life.
Yeah, because you know they laid me down on the
deck.
floor on the deck of the chopper, and the next thing I start thinking, oh shit, now I'm gonna get shot in the back.
Of course.
You know, because and but by the time I made it to the 25th, I was a little delirious. I was still conscious, but I was delirious, and I remember. I always thought this was a dream. And I says, no, this can't be real. But I had an out of body experience there in the emergency room, whatever. I was looking down at me while they were working on me, and I hear them talking about what bit him, what kind of snake, blah blah blah. I'm hearing all of this, and I told them I'm not ready. I just told myself I'm not ready. And next thing I know, I wake up 3 days later.
Wow. I'm assuming they gave you anti-venom or what? Right?
Yeah.
Or whatever they do.
At the time, I don't know.
But you know,
I
you're
didn't-
right. That could have killed you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, cobra is bad.
Yeah.
And you're probably lucky it was in a finger.
Yeah, in a finger. Yeah. Because I was able to. I mean, it was in a matter of less than a minute that I had tourniquets on me.
Yeah.
Tourniquet.
And plus, this is a lot of capillary instead of
Yeah.
big veins or whatever. If
Right.
you'd have gotten bit, like in here in a vein,
here or
it
in my neck
probably
or
would have been
whatever.
over.
Oh yeah, in my neck. I was thought, man, you know,
Do you think you're ready now?
what's that?
Are you ready now?
Ready for what?
Well, you said you weren't ready.
Oh, oh, I'm ready now. I've been through a lot. I've had 3 or 4 heart procedures, and of course, and a mini stroke, and all in the last, say, 10 years. But you know, I still try to stay active. I work out 3 or 4 days a week.
Besides Diamond and the incident with Cartland, share with us a couple of other stories where it was just a bad deal all the way around.
Oh, the day Matias got it, you know,
Go-
and Hyde and Clinton, and you did a lot of work that day. I remember because we had gone through this. We just walked out of that village.
And the little booby trap signs were all
Yeah,
over
we
the
saw
place.
those Tudia signs,
Yes.
Tudia, and as soon as you walked out, they were there, and so. You know, when you got to walk through a minefield, that's always, you know, you think it's your last.
every step.
Every step you think is your last one. And so, you know, we were going through there, and you guys were kind of in the back. But
Yes,
I
we
was
were.
real close to Lieutenant Hyde, and I didn't know
Peroni
was his RTO.
He was carrying radio.
yeah,
that day,
I didn't know that. But you know, you heard the massive explosion, and I looked back, and I knew it was Herrera. I saw him up in the air. You know, he got blown. And then, you know, at the time I didn't hit the ground, and then Marquez, I remember Marquez was walking fast, and Clinton was right behind him. And Marquez, he walked over that mine too. And Clinton hit it. And I saw Clinton fly up in there. And then the lieutenant dropped right next to me. And Marquez, after Clinton, he said he didn't want nobody to move.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was screaming.
Yeah, nobody moved, and it was kind of. And then Mateus is screaming, and if he even called my name, and Marquez, no, don't move. And it was, I think you and Bourgeois did most of the work.
Yeah.
There were only two moving.
Yeah.
Because y'all were there. And
you know what was weird about that is he came down in the hole that was created by that 105.
Mm-hmm.
So he was laying in there.
Yeah.
And that was up close.
Yeah, I saw his leg was gone.
I mean, it was like,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And
when I looked up, he didn't.
And the first thing I noticed is there was no spurting blood. You would think that there'd be arteries spurting.
No.
What had happened, that hot metal cauterized that whole deal.
Well, it takes a while to bleed because the shock of the trauma.
And all the, I call it meat, was twitching. And I'm assuming those were nerves.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. I didn't say.
And Matthias, believe it or not, was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
He, when I did put a tourniquet on it, even though it wasn't bleeding, I took his belt off of him and used it for a tourniquet. But he was conscious, and I just said, medevac's coming. But at that point, a lot of guys, because you just heard the explosions, Dunnick was out on flank, and he couldn't see us. He didn't know whether we'd taken mortars, RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
What's he supposed to do?
Yeah. Right.
And I think it's amazing that some guys didn't start shooting.
Right.
I mean, when you think about it.
Well, I think we had a pretty seasoned group then after that. We didn't have very many new guys. So I think that had a lot to do with it. You knew what happened. You had an idea, but just like when you knew when to shoot, when you got guys in front of you, you're not going to be shooting. You just got to.
So then one of the scariest days in my life in Vietnam is when Marquez yelled at me, said, when the medevac comes in, you got to come out and get a stretcher. And you got to go back and bring Herrera to the helicopter. And it didn't sink in at that minute what he was saying. And all I remember had this horrible fear of the chopper coming in because we were in the middle of a minefield.
Yeah. And
remember those blades hell, there could be secondary explosions going on, right?
Yeah.
And so it lands, and then I was and Marquez yelled at me again, and he said, "Go get a stretcher and get Herrera on the chopper." And so
he didn't say it like that though.
No.
He used a more expressive language.
Oh God! But so I remember every step.
Yeah.
I took. I honestly believed it was over.
Yeah.
So I got there, got the stretcher, turned around. Now I got to walk back.
Yeah.
Get back there. We get him on. Ray and I get him on the stretcher. Now I got to go again. I'm telling you, that was one.
Did you pick up Ide too? Who picked up Ide?
I didn't. Ray and I put Herrera on, and then we went and got Clennon. Okay. And so we put those two guys on. Yeah. And I don't know who. I have no idea.
Ide was this close to me, and when I moved him, I felt his body like jello.
Oh, it was jelly. Yeah, it was jelly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He got a big shrapnel wound.
Oh, and you know what? He wasn't even supposed to be there that day.
Yeah.
His platoon was going in the next day, and Jamie was in Cu Chi for some reason or other, and he asked Marquez. He said, "Is it okay if I tag along? I want to get a lay of the land."
The lay of the land. But it was a small riff. It was just one of those candy patrols that we used to take.
That went terribly wrong.
Oh God! So he wasn't. I mean, that bothered me.
Oh, that bothered me a lot. I mean, I got pictures of myself. I heard you talking about that base camp, and I think the name of that base camp was Patton.
Okay.
If you recall. I don't know. I remember that, and it was one of the most ugliest base camps, dirtiest,
yeah.
filthy base camps that I've ever been in. Our base camp was pretty neat compared to this one.
Yeah.
This was ugly as heck, and I got a picture that almost demonstrates how ugly it was. I mean, they had like boxes of mortar sitting out in the middle of the,
Yeah.
nothing to protect them. It was just, it was an ugly base camp. And I really didn't like it, and that really affected me when, I could tell.
And plus, your buddy's gone.
Yeah, that's the whole
Now,
thing.
right now, this minute, he's
Yeah.
gone and he ain't
Yeah.
coming back.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Old Matthias, that's about as close. It knocked me over.
Yeah.
I mean, Ray and I both wound up on our backs.
Yeah,
And so
but that
that was
and then after that, I think that entire village was cleaned out. I remember we went to base camp and we mortared it. They fired a bunch of mortars over there. I don't know how many of their animals they killed. And then I remember them bringing another platoon went out there, and I felt sorry for them guys too, because they had to go back out there, and they brought back all the males out of that village. I mean, they brought everybody out, old men, young men, everybody. Everybody was a VC.
do you remember? I think it was either 1 day or 2 days later, they came to us and they said, "We're sending you back in there, but we're gonna put you on the other side and
Yeah.
come in front." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That's when Tommy Clack stepped on the 105 run and blew his legs
Yeah.
and arm off. And after that day, I was fed up.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought of how many guys we got killed and maimed and everything. And that was, I was starting to get an attitude.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was really starting to get,
Yeah.
an attitude. And I thought, this is just, and there was a tank with us that day.
It was it
flame
a tank? It was kind of a big 155. I don't know. It was yeah, I remember that. I got pictures of that.
It was like a,
you and
was
Bushwell.
Was it a flamethrower or something?
I don't know. It was like a tank, but it
But
wasn't
it had
a tank.
this thing,
Yeah.
yeah,
A motorized cannon.
yeah.
And
And,
but I don't know. We didn't see him in the action. We did. I remember Dietz blowing up a couple of booby traps that day. Dietz was our explosive guy.
carried the C4.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, after that, my attitude really suffered, I guess, for a lack of a better term. And then I remember guys were starting to leave us.
Yeah.
They'd get offline and go to
Yeah,
aviation.
because I remember I always wondered what happens to these guys that are out there, and all of a sudden they're gone.
I mean, I
like
thought,
Peroni never came back.
I thought the same thing. Steve Thorpe, Connell,
Cornett.
John Cook. Yeah.
Cornett.
And I'm
Cornett
going-
was my M60 guy. Next thing I know, he's gone. He didn't even tell me.
Yeah.
He re-upped to get offline. He
I-
was only there in the field a couple of months.
I didn't know anything about where those guys went until later, obviously. But so then Ray and I got together one day and we were just sitting there. I think we were at Harris, and we were sitting there and I looked at him and I said, we've only got like 2 months left.
Yeah.
What do you think? Should we go do that and get offline?
Yeah.
And we thought about it. I mean, we seriously thought about it.
Well, I didn't know how it would happen. I didn't know
And
the
I-
ropes on that. I never learned them.
And we looked at each other and I said, you know what? You had to add 6 months. That wasn't for free. You had to stay another 6 months.
Oh yeah.
But it was always aviation or something where
Yeah,
they were
Cornett signed up for another year.
refueling or they made you helicopter mechanic
Yeah.
or something.
Right.
And we looked at each other and I said, you know what? I cannot be here one more day after my date. In other words, mentally, I could not comprehend being there 1 day after I was supposed to go home. And we did, so that's why we never left.
Yeah.
That's why-
I never left. I spent.
That's why we stayed.
In fact, I had to threaten my captain. A couple of things happened, and after I got snake bit, and I spent about a week after in the hospital for 3 or 4 days, 3 nights anyway, and then I got out. And the doctor said, okay, we're gonna give you a week convalescent.
Yep.
So they gave me a week convalescent there, and then I tried to get another week, but you know, I said, look, my finger still bothers me. Look, it's still swollen and all that crap. He says, there's nothing wrong with you. He says, you good. The captain wants you back.
Yeah, and that was the deal.
Yeah, the captain wants you back. There's nothing I can do. He wants you back, and you know, you're fit for duty. So
Yeah.
they send me back out there, and not long after that, another damn cobra comes up, and this guy, you know, we had an M50, a 50 cab on this bunker, and he goes in there and pulls that damn cobra out because he didn't want to destroy the skin. He wanted to.
Oh, he wanted to skin it.
Yeah. So the guys were saying, yeah, you ought to give it to Garcia. You ought to give it to Garcia. And of course, I said, hell no, it's mine. I'm going in to get it. So he went and got it and brought it out, and he killed it to where he could
Wow.
skin it. So it was a big baby.
And those cobra heads are awful. I
Yeah.
mean, they're scary.
Yeah, and so yeah, he skinned it and everything and mounted it, and but it was for him. And he went in there with his pole and brought it out.
Well, there's still an opportunity for you to get a cobra.
A cobra.
Because Doc Flores, you know, every time I've ever went and saw him, he's got to give me something to take home.
Oh yeah.
Guess what we got on this trip?
What?
We got a cobra from Vietnam that's stuck inside a bottle of tequila or vodka. Oh, and I think at the next reunion, I think it would be appropriate if we honored you with that.
And actually, you know, I had 3 weeks left, and then at that time I wasn't even going out anymore. I don't recall. I wasn't going out on ambushes. I know that.
Yeah.
After about, if you have 30 days left, you kind of we had a rule, and some of
Yeah.
the guys, the new lieutenants who came in, didn't know the rule, and you
Right.
had to tell them. Us guys had to tell them.
Yes.
And if he didn't agree with it, you know, we would tell him, you know, where he could go.
Yeah.
But we had a rule.
Yeah. If
30
you-
days, no ambushes, no, you know, and take, so anyway, they gave me a job, burning shit and, you know, bringing in supplies. And a couple of things happened there at Harris. Engineers were blowing out all the hedgerows in front of us. And you know how you used to put your satchel charges out in front and all that
Sure.
stuff, you know, claymores,
Yeah,
all that.
yeah.
And in front of the satchel charges, sometimes we'd get a roll of concertina wire, put it in front, or a bundle up of 50 cab, you know,
Yeah.
and just put it all in front. And went out to pick up supplies and then bring back. And the dusters, the guys from the dusters went in to pick up some ammo. And at the same time, the hedgerow, they blew up the hedgerow with a shitload of bungalows, and it set off the satchel charge.
No.
Yeah, and it killed two of the dust guys bringing in supplies. And I had just come back from that,
Oh, brother.
and that's like, oh hell! And then
one more time.
yeah, and
You're-
then a couple of weeks later, right after Christmas, on the 28th, I remember that day, we got mortared, and I had enough.
Yeah.
This is enough. The next day, I go tell my captain that I'm leaving. I'm going back. I'm jumping on the next chopper. I'm going to go find out where my orders at. But he said, "You don't have no orders, Garcia. You can't leave." I said, "I'm going to go make my orders." And so
and you know what? By that time,
So
he probably knew
yeah, I said,
you were.
yeah,
That was it.
yeah. I said, I'm gone, man. So I
Do you
gave away all
remember?
my
Do you remember
possessions.
what it was like to say goodbye to the guys?
You know, I remember giving my stuff away. You know, my possessions that we have.
Yeah,
You know, the
yeah.
weed and
Oh, sure, yeah.
you know, if you had any weed left, you'd
Sure.
leave it him and Raleigh, you know, and stuff like that. You know, you start giving away some of your possessions that you can't carry back to base camp with you.
Yeah.
So, but I told him I was leaving, man. I said, I'm getting on the next chopper. He didn't stop me.
Did you say good luck, you guys, or I'll see you on the
I said,
other
"See you."
side, or
I said,
what?
see you, man. You know, see you later. You know how we say we'll see you later.
Yeah.
And, you know, something like you say, you know, you're here one day and next day you look around and they're gone, you know. I said, well, it was for him to leave.
Yeah.
And, well, he never said nothing because nobody talked about when they were, hey,
No.
you know, because you
No.
didn't want to talk
Yeah.
about how short you were.
Yeah.
You just
Bad
knew
luck.
it.
Bad luck.
Yeah, you just knew it.
You would jinx yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
So, when you went back in, you went back to Coochie,
Yeah.
and would you just have a week or two left at that point?
I had, I had 9 days left.
So did you go to the company clerk and say,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah. I said, hey, yeah. I mean, like, for instance, hey, man, where are my orders,
Yeah.
man? I got less than 2 weeks here. And,
did you go to the
So-
NCO club and have a few?
oh, absolutely. And,
More than a few?
a lot more than 2. In fact, the clerk took me out to Coochie and we did our thing over there. You know what goes on out there.
Oh yeah, yep. Just outside of the perimeter.
Yeah,
Sure.
we visited the ladies over there, and you know, we did that. And then I got to Benoit, I think on New Year's Eve actually.
But I think first you went to Long Bend again. You kind of
Yeah.
went back
Right.
the way you came in.
Yeah.
Were you still in the back of your mind thinking, I'm not out of here yet?
Oh yeah, because even that night in the New Year's Day, you're in Long Bend, and of course it's a lot more secure. You always, you know, when you're in Coochie, or it's not the same as being out in the jungle. You saw there's still stuff going on. You see the tracers away in the sky.
Yeah.
You see all this stuff going on. That's one thing about Vietnam. I said right before Diamond, maybe I think Diamond 2, or I was admiring the sky. You know, you never seen so many stars.
Oh,
It's so
I
dark,
could
and
reach
you
up
see,
and touch them.
yeah, it's just full of. And the captain was walking the perimeter at night, and I'm just sitting there gazing at the stars. He says, "A beautiful sight," and it's God, I've never seen so many stars. I remember, and it was. I remember him, the captain, saying something. It was one of those nights before we got hit again, and this was Diamond 2. So, but I remember that.
Do you remember
the
us getting
sky.
gassed at Diamond 2? The artillery gas? Do you remember that?
No.
They told us that the NVA had artillery just on the other side of the border,
Uh-huh.
which they did.
Yeah.
And so you were always, in my mind, I'm going, you know, if they shoot artillery at us, we don't have a prayer.
No.
I mean, there is not even
Yeah.
a prayer.
If you zero in on that.
And so somebody came around, an NCO or something, and said, you know, they probably won't shoot HE because we were so close to the border that we would have shit on them
Right.
in an instant.
Right.
And they didn't like that. They didn't like us artillerying them. So, but he said, you know, I think you guys better have your gas masks close by. And I remember my squad was on the perimeter facing the border, and Kid Lozon was next to me, and I think Dunnick and Cush were in my squad at that point. I think they were, and I don't know. You know, we had 8 or 10 sometimes when we were strong, and I went to those guys and I said, hey, you know, whatever you do, keep your gas mask. I said, I'm going to just keep mine on my belt, you know, and I said, because they're telling us that we're within reach of artillery from Cambodia. And I said, and I remembered how miserable gas was. And it'll put you out of action. In
Yeah.
other words, if they planned to gas you and then human wave you, you'd be in a world of hurt.
Yeah.
So Lozon, of course, at that point was stuck to my thigh. He clung to me like
Yeah.
nothing, and so he had his gas mask, and a couple of other guys did, and I'll be damned, just before dark, you hear boom, boom, and it's coming from Cambodia. Well, shit, you know, I knew what artillery sounded like,
Yeah.
and out in front of us, and the wind was just blowing right. Here comes these canisters blowing up CS. And it's in the air and it's wafting and the winds. Of course, I put my lows on it, the guys that had it, and I was ready to fight. I mean, I figured when that gas clears, we're probably going to be into it.
Right.
And so I remember the screaming and the wallowing and people calling out for their mothers rolling on the ground that didn't have their mask or couldn't find it.
Yeah. Wow.
And I thought, and I told them, I said, you assholes, you could cost us. I mean, if you're not fighting, and if they'd have human waved it, they'd have killed you right on the ground.
Well, you always got upset a lot of times when, you get, you want your partner protecting you too, 'cause you can't do it all by yourself. And, you remember that Scott incident, with Scott. He didn't want to go out with me one night. And he laid back in base camp after, they were going to court-martial him. He came up to me and said, I got a bad feeling.
Oh, yeah?
And he, and I told him, no, it's your turn. I'm not putting anyone else in your spot. It's your turn. You know that. When it's your turn, you're going, you're not going to, that's it.
And it wasn't really a negotiable deal.
No, it wasn't negotiable. You're going.
Yeah.
That's it. You're either going or you're going to jail. And I remember the captain came up to me and told me, give him a direct order after I had told him, but it was in front of the platoon sergeant and the captain. And I told him, saddle up. And he said, I'm not going. I said, okay, Garcia, get you somebody else. Scott, you're going in tomorrow. Back to Cuichi. They're going to court-martial. He never made it. Remember that night? I don't know if you heard about that night in July. Had a B-40 rocket landed on top of him.
Yeah.
I was always pissed at him about that,
And just like that, I for some reason I've drawn a blank. That new kid at Diamond, he started crying. I just know if I go out on that ambush tonight, I'm going to get killed. I mean, it was so real to him.
Right.
And
yeah. And so, I was thinking, if he'd came out with me, I wonder if he'd have brought that B-40 rocket on, but instead it was, we had a peaceful night and he got killed.
And then you remember one at Shamrock when all the RPGs and stuff and B-40s came in and all those guys were in that one bunker.
Yeah, that was a night. That was a night. Scott and Bass and Mitchell.
Right. And Doc Flores.
Doc Flores. That was the same night.
Yep. That night affected a lot of guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Crabtree,
Yeah.
that was a horrible night for him.
I wasn't willing to witness that, because I was on an ambush patrol.
Yeah.
And everybody got scared in those little ambush patrols, but you could really hide a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
With 8-man ambush patrols and
yes.
with platoon size.
And you could make the choice on whether or not to open up or not.
Exactly. And if you weren't sure, because you never, I remember spotting on an ambush patrol 2 or 3 walking in front of us, but I didn't know who was behind them guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're 8 guys out there. Unless they walk on top of you, that's when you open up. But if they're some distance away, you're not sure you're going to get them, and there's a company behind them, those are the points. You're just committing suicide.
That's what you thought all the time.
I always thought that. I had 3 of them walk to me one time, and we didn't open up on them, because I wanted to see what was behind them.
Yeah. I can't remember who we were interviewing, but they said they were told they were going out on an ambush, and it had been a lot of crap going on, and so it was Bill Vaught, and so Bill Vaught took the guys and got them all saddled up, and by this time they hadn't left the wire yet, and they all hid. They never went out.
Well, I heard that story.
Yeah.
I got caught trying that. Actually, I heard it from artillery guys. I don't know who came up to me with a spot. I don't know. Somebody squealed on us. That's how we got caught. We were in Jackson, and Jackson was such a battalion side base camp.
Yeah.
It was big. So
Big.
You'd walk around, and you'd go out in the wire.
You could hide real good.
You could hide real good. And I was hearing these rumors that the guys were not going out of the wire, and that artillery was a area where you could go and bunk in with them.
Yeah.
And you would have, 5 or 6 guys per bunker now, and they get some sleep and all that stuff. So I talked to my squad. I said, "Hey, y'all guys want to try this?" You know. And so it was a bunch of crazy stuff that was going on. He said, so I went and talked to the artillery guys, and they told me how it worked. Is you come here, you drop two, you know. So I said, okay, let's try it. So we call our sit reps from the bunker.
Oh yeah, sure.
You know, you talk to the battalion.
And Bill did the same thing.
Yeah, we called our sit rep. Well, you know, a day or two later, the captain calls me into the CP and says, "Garcia, I heard you're not leaving the bunker." I said, "Talk to my man." "Of course I'm leaving the bunker." I said, "Garcia, you're not leaving the bunker. I know you're not leaving the bunker." I said, "Look, you're a good soldier. I don't want to mess with you. Don't do it again."
Yeah.
So, okay, you know, fine. So I walked out. So I don't know who squealed on us, but it had, you know, I figured it was somebody from our squad who was feeling guilty or what. I thought everybody else was, because I didn't do it unless I had it clear with everybody and said, "Hey, you want to try it?"
Yeah.
But you know, after that, you develop other tricks.
Sure.
You know.
Is there anything else that I haven't brought up that was important to you in Vietnam that happened that you want to be in this interview?
I saw a guy shoot himself.
In the foot?
No, in the hand, in Harris.
Was he one of our guys?
Yeah, he was one of our guys. He was trying to. In fact, I was short. I was less than 30 days, and I went into the CP, kind of the mess tent, and he had the M16 to his hand. And as soon as I walked in I opened the thing, you know, and
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and the captain asked me what happened, and I said it was an accident. He was cleaning his weapon.
Cleaning his weapon.
And he didn't like that answer. I think that's why he had it in for me. But you know, he didn't even call me in to testify. They sent the guy back there, you know, was destroying government property.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, he was going to get court-martialed, but they never called me as a witness.
Yeah. And you know what? Being in a war zone like that, you know, all of us have our strengths and our weaknesses. All of us handle things differently. There were some guys that didn't belong out there.
No, I know.
I mean, there were just guys that just did not belong out there.
Yeah.
And
they were more of danger to you. And
exactly. But what I'm saying there is, you know, and then to ruin their life.
yeah.
I mean, you know what court-martial, you know what that does.
Yeah.
You know, it ruins a guy's life. So, coming to kind of an end here, you know, I've thought about this a lot myself. What is your
Sorry, and I'll cut this part, but ask about, you know, maybe his career, his family, and some of that. Career after Vietnam, family.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about
yeah,
that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. We got so enthralled in the other
It's
stuff.
gonna take me 3 days to get you two unwound after this.
So you come home. What was it like actually coming home now from Vietnam? Did the folks show up and at the airport or?
No, it was different. I had a problem getting a flight home because it was being the day after New Year's. I think I was debriefed in Oakland. Being New Year's, there was nobody there hardly, so they rushed me through. I don't think they gave me a physical, but I couldn't get a flight home, and so I'm at the airport, and I'm waiting on the flight. I think I probably slept at the airport. And I had, you know, of course, I'm in my greens, you know, my Class A's or whatever.
Sure.
And I got my shirt ties untied and the collar's open, sleeping there, and an officer comes in and he berates me for
No.
for not being dressed properly, and you know, and I remember that, and then I remember I said, "Look, you got a standby flight to Vegas, but you have to get off in Vegas because the flight is booked." And so I got on that flight. I got to Vegas.
Get closer to home.
I never got off the plane. I stayed on the plane. I figured hopefully somebody don't show up. Well, I never got off the plane, so we went in on the Houston.
Oh, so it was going to Houston.
Yeah, I was going
Awesome.
to Houston, but they told me I had to get off from
Right,
Vegas
right.
because it was booked. And I said, well, hell, I'm
So
gonna
that
tell
worked out.
I'm gonna tell them, tell them to get out. And if I don't tell them to get out, I'm
Yeah.
on. It's too late. I'm in Houston. So when I landed in Houston, I landed at the new airport, and I didn't. I left out of hobby, so I landed at the new airport. And so my parents didn't know I was coming in really, so I called them when I got to Intercontinental.
Mm-hmm.
But the first time I ever used a push button phone though. So they had push button phones, and I had to use a push button phone, And I called them, and they came to pick me up. So, but it's you go through every other word is a bad word.
Of course.
Okay, and I couldn't, I had to
And the F
excuse
word,
myself.
And the F word is just about
I had to excuse myself
the main,
all the way home,
Yeah.
and so then you kind of shell up, you
Yeah.
quit talking. So
Did they throw a little welcome home party?
yeah,
for
they
you?
did, yeah.
So that was
yeah,
cool.
I was all my family and
Did
at
you-
grandma's house.
Did you have any time left to serve when you got home?
No, I was done.
So you had
ETS, yeah.
you had your 2 years.
Full
in.
2 years,
Okay.
yeah.
What did you do directly after you got home? Did you think to yourself, Did you have any girlfriends at that time?
Not really. No,
Okay.
I kind of didn't have any. I had a lot of friends, but
Yeah.
no, as a steady girl, no, I didn't have one.
So did you think to yourself, well, I got to get a job, or
Yeah,
What did you
well, I
end
did
up
have
doing?
some job offers, and they put me in a plant for 6 months, and I was like scraping latex out of tanks and crap. It was a refinery job.
Oh, okay.
For 6 months, I said, nah, this is not what. So I went back to school, and went back to finish up where I started at Lee College, and while I was going there, a friend of mine who was working in Houston as a social worker said there was a position in Baytown, and so I took it, and been a social worker ever since then.
Okay, what does a social worker do?
Well, just helping people out with, a thing if they need a street light goes out in their street, fix them out. If they need food stamps, or
Oh, okay.
you
Community.
yeah,
You
I'm a more. They call us community organizers.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but you have all these resources available to you, and you don't actually do the work, but you refer people to it. They come and see you, and you need this, you need
Yeah.
that. I even tried to get a deferment for a guy who got drafted soon after I came back. His wife was pregnant, and his wife didn't want him to go, and so I went through the process of trying to get a deferment. I don't think it worked though. So,
Mhm.
but
So
things
So you got into social work and you did that for a career.
pretty much.
How many years?
God, man, I don't know, 30 years or so.
Wow.
It was in different areas, like some of them were politically involved. I did some 4-year stint in Washington. At that time, though, it was more in the finance area, economic
Who
development.
was writing your checks? The city, the feds?
Well, the city wrote my checks at one time. Harris County wrote my checks. The feds wrote my checks.
So
I went from the county to the city
Yeah.
to
yeah. How was Washington?
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. It was very interesting.
Now, did you get married eventually?
I got married right before I went to Washington.
Okay.
Yeah,
And tell me just a little bit about that.
Well, I had my girlfriend there for a couple of years, and I said, hey, they offered me a job in Washington. I have to leave in 2 weeks. It says, you can come with me, but you either come with me with a wife, that's my wife, or I'm going alone.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think? Are you ready
That's
to go?
a heck of a proposal.
Yeah, it wasn't it? And she says, I'm coming with you. I said, good. So we got married and took off.
Did you guys have any kids?
Yeah, we had 2 kids over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And boys, girls?
One
each?
boy and 1 girl.
And what are their names?
Well, I named David Conrad because I was in D.C. at the time, so
Oh, for
D.C.
heaven's sake.
So it's called David Conrad.
Interesting.
And then my daughter, she's 4 years. Actually, she was born in Baytown because we had just got back and she was born here.
And what's her name?
Stephanie.
Oh, Stephanie. Okay. It's interesting that you didn't keep the traditional names. Like Mexican, like Mexican names?
Yeah.
Was that kind of a cultural thing? Matias, and I mean, when you think of all the,
Well, Matias, that's his last name. You know. No, Matias is his first name. Matias Herrera. You know what? No, you know, like my name. My name's Conrad. It's and Graciano, of course, and then Florentino, and
that's kind of what I was, when you started naming
Reynaldo,
when you were naming all your brothers.
But my dad named that after himself, but his name was Conrado, which is Spanish. But I think when I was born, the nurses over there at the hospital says, no, it's Conrad.
I'll be darned.
So that's, instead of me Conrado, I'm Conrad.
So then, eventually, your marriage.
I was married 17 years and got a divorce. And then I remarried, I think another 17 years later.
And that's Janie?
That's Janie.
Yeah. Great gal.
I was single for a long time. I didn't think I was gonna ever
Mm-hmm.
do it again, but
I was in the same boat.
Yeah.
I mean, basically,
Yeah.
a lot of us were
yeah.
in the same boat.
Yeah, I didn't know why my marriage didn't work, but now I understand why
Yeah.
it didn't work. Yeah.
And most of the guys, when you really sit down and talk to them, they go, I'll say to them, do you think Vietnam had anything? Oh, yeah. Look, and they say,
Yeah, you think back and you say,
looking
there's
back,
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of.
I mean, things like patience, kind of, your temper's a little quick,
A lot of things like that.
Yeah, things bother you, I mean, irritate you, like standing in line.
Oh, yeah. And you didn't take criticism very well.
No,
and especially you didn't take somebody getting in your face.
not at all.
I mean, that was
I did some crazy stuff sometimes. Luckily, I never had a weapon. To this day, I still don't have a weapon because, don't know what somebody pissed me off, may use it, but I didn't want a weapon, because.
Did you stay in touch with anybody when you came home?
Matias. I went to see him.
Because you knew where he lived.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, of course, Adolph, but he wasn't with us. When I was in Washington, I called Donick.
Oh, yeah.
But he didn't want to talk, and so that was I called him once, and told
Did
him,
you ask him, hey, do you know where any of the guys are?
No, I just called him, and because I was traveling when I was in Washington, I traveled all over the country, and probably visited every state in the union, in the major cities. So I did go to Minnesota once. But I and then I somehow got his number. I don't know how. I may have had it. I got a couple of numbers. I had Merrill's number. I think Dunnick's number, and I called Dunnick, but he didn't want to talk. So that kind of just, that was the last person, other than Matias.
Yeah.
And even Matias, when I contacted him, that was kind of I drove down to. I was a hippie then, basically. I went to the valley to see Matias, and I found him. His mother said he was at this joint, so I saw him at a joint, beer joint, and one of the first things his mother told me was what happened to me, and Matias had to lie to her, said that I was shot, I had got wounded, but that was pretty rough,
And he had a lot of trouble with his prosthetic.
Yeah, he's I just talked to him yesterday, and they've been wanting to cut the other leg off for years, and he won't let them. He said, I could get another $1,100.
Oh, I know. He knows. He knows
all
more
that.
about VA benefits than
And
any single person I know.
He says for another $1,000, I'm not going to.
Why do they want to cut it off?
It's really put together by a brace, and it's pretty torn up. I understand. I've never seen it.
Yeah. And because it was so close,
and he walks, with
but because his leg was cut off or taken off so tight, he had to wear a belt.
Yeah.
With this prosthetic, and it was always digging into him, and and it was just a
Oh,
miserable.
yeah.
He was
In fact-
he was a truck driver.
Yeah, yeah, I know. In fact, I went to San Antonio with him to the hospital that day, sometime when I first met him, and then we went to Fort Sam, and it was with a bunch of paraplegics, and when we all stayed in a motel, and I remember those guys taking their legs off and cussing at their legs and throwing them up against the wall and all that kind of stuff. It was crazy.
And I think prosthetics in those days weren't very good.
No, they did. You know, they would call it, use a Spanish cuss word about their leg and talk to it like it's a person,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what is your definition of a hero?
I don't know, somebody like Roy Benavides, somebody like that.
What would
I mean-
what would be a characteristic?
Well, I mean, characteristic, I mean, it's just like, the reason I say Roy, because you read his story, I don't know if you ever read it, but he wasn't out there when his unit, Special Forces unit was, and so he volunteered to go out there. He was a medic, and he knew what he was getting into, because when you deliberately go into the fire without a weapon, and he was going in there to,
Wow.
and then getting wounded and fighting with M16s and AK-47s and hand-to-hand combat, and then hauling all his men on the chopper and getting them, actually single-handedly, 5 or 6 wounded, dead, put them all in the chopper by himself, and then being wounded so
Himself?
bad, yeah, really, really bad, and where they even put him in a body bag and zipped it up, and then they happened to unzip the body bag to find out who it was, and he spit in the guy's face. That was the only way he could tell him he was alive. So that, to
Wow.
me, is a hero.
What was his name?
Roy Benavides.
What's the name
From
of
El Campo.
What's the name of the book?
Well, I don't know. You can just Google that guy. And,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing.
I thought you were referring to a book that you'd read. Maybe.
Well, he's got a book, and but they just named a highway after him in El Campo.
Well, I'll be darned.
But that's a hero to me. That guy, there was, we did a lot of stuff, but somebody who does what he did, to me, it's probably the definition of a hero.
A lot of guys that I've interviewed that served with us say that you were a hero.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Huh.
And it always comes back to leadership.
Well, basically,
I mean, they saw that you were always looking out for them.
well,
And
that's
you
it.
were,
Yeah.
You were always,
Yeah.
did the very best you could to make sure everybody, got home.
Yeah. Except one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and it wasn't bad. But still, one of my guys, my RTO, stepped on a booby trap, and I had to take. They made me platoon leader that day.
Who was that? Do you remember?
I don't even remember his name.
Yeah.
So. They told me I'm going out with Arvins.
Oh,
Isn't that fun?
that was the worst.
Yeah. So, and they were gonna, and I was the platoon leader that day, and I told them I wasn't taking them out. And thanks to Manarelli and Cush, it's oh, come on, man, we'll go anywhere with you. Should have kept my mouth shut, guys. But so yeah, okay, y'all want to go? We'll go. So we went, and the first thing that happens is one of my guys steps on the booby trap.
Yeah, I remember they had us with Arvins a couple of times when we went into the Hobo Woods and the
Yeah.
Iron Triangle.
Yeah.
And you know how jungle, I mean, that's a lot of foliage there, and we'd be in one file and they'd be in another.
Yeah.
And so you'd be seeing them through the, and not much, and all of a sudden they'd be gone.
Yeah, you try to keep up with them.
I mean, they would like, they're not there anymore.
But the only good thing about that is that they're probably walking. They know where they're going, and they're probably not looking for any trouble.
Yeah.
So
And
that was a
then-
good thing.
And then another thing that I always remembered is if we stopped to take a 10-minute, you'd hear all this clanking and banging of pots and stuff. They'd start cooking rice and stuff right there.
Mhm.
I mean, they carried all that stuff with them.
Right.
And I used to think, God, they're going to give our position away. And later I found out that's exactly what they were doing. Because the VC and them had a deal. You don't mess with us and we don't mess with you as long as we know it's you and where you're at. Bang, 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 you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but what does the American flag mean to you?
The American flag, to me, it's. I know a lot of people have made a lot of different definitions, but to me, it's a symbol of our country, of America. And when you want to distinguish a person, it's not necessarily a military thing. It's a personal type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a symbol of our country, and it stands for a lot of things, you know. And the military is one of them. But you know, you go to just like all the other flags of other countries. It represents who they are.
Mm-hmm. You've got children. You got grandchildren?
Yeah, 7 of them.
Okay. They're eventually going to be married and have children.
Right,
You and I will be long gone.
right.
I'd like you to look into the camera, and I would like to have you give them your best advice for their lives.
Well, I would tell them that basically is treat people the way you want them to treat you. And if you can lend a helping hand, do so.
Do you want to tell them that you love them?
Oh yeah, they know I love them. In fact, my memory is so bad sometimes. They wanted me. I have a missing man ceremony that I do for the VFW, and they wanted me to do one in May, right before Memorial Day. But I thought they said it was April 27th. They wanted me to do it, so I emailed them today and said, "Hey, I can't do it. I'm sorry. My grandkids was having a birthday party this weekend, and I can't do the ceremony."
Yeah.
And then I realized that I had marked the wrong date on my calendar. So it's May 27th.
I do that a lot.
So I emailed the right back, says, "I'm sorry, I got my dates mixed up. I can do the ceremony." So
Great.
you know, but that's that simple.
Well, Conrad, I can't thank you enough. I'm going to tell you this, and I think I've told you this before. Pound for pound, I believe in my heart you were one of the best soldiers I ever served with.
Well, thank you, John. That means a lot coming from you.
I mean,
but,
I mean that.
Yeah. Yeah, you knew I was never a really NCO or a real officer or anything. You know, I did not respond.
Well, I
To
can't.
those
You know,
guys, you know,
thanks
it
for
was-
thanks for always being there for us.
Yeah. Well,